Oxford at the end of March. I was involved in a head-on collision just outside Euston and really messed up my right leg, amongst other injuries. Very sadly, this has meant I cannot be there in person tonight, but I'm definitely there in spirit. What can I say? That damn Cambridge! Still, one silver lining is that Andrew gets to regulate my little chat with you now. I promised him I'll keep it brief, to the point, and won't tell any jokes about his nose. Little did I know, when I first stepped through the dusty galleries for the first time at Camford School in 1989, quite what an impact tennis would have on my life. I'm sure many of you all here tonight can say similar things. And for my part, through this strange old game, I found a career, the best of friendships, and my wonderful wife and family. I owe it truly so much. Those first few steps of mine into the game were in many ways a product of sheer chance. I had intended to go to Winchester as a school, but something had drawn me to choose Camford instead. It also just so happened that Ben Ronaldson joined the same year as me, and we became good friends. So that when it was decided that I really was too small to play rugby, he encouraged me to take the other option for winter sport, and I learned to play tennis with him, and his uncle Steve. And between them, they ensured that I caught the bug, or at least became obsessed with the mysteries of spin and the back wall. I was then lucky enough not only to come up to Oxford, but also to go to Brasenose, which goes without saying is the finest college in Oxford, but more importantly, surprisingly close to Merton. When faced with the choice of going across the street to play tennis versus traipsing down to Iffley Road to play the other tennis, I felt as a very fresh-faced fresher it was an easy option. My decision was cemented the moment I met the then Blues team members, some of the funniest, nicest, wonderful people I could have met as a first year. Alex Roberts-Miller, Henry Burts and Ali Morden, who all seemed to have an exceptional talent for exotic swear word creation, especially having just missed the ball off timbre. And of course, the wonderful, almost equally fresh-faced new pro that had just started, one A. Davis. All of them made me feel so welcome at OUTC that despite joining a minimum of 15 student clubs at Freshers' Fair, there was really only one that would consume my free periods. And so I started to play. I was lucky enough, as you may all remember, or remember only too well, to have an extended student career at Oxford, giving me the time to spend many hours on court, and indeed off court, with many of you, providing me, and hopefully you, with so many wonderful memories. I remember the away games, being lucky enough to be selected to play the MCC, possibly the finest lunch as a student could imagine. I remember the delight of settling into the sofas at Hardwick House, having somehow managed to follow the directions through the hedges to locate the court. I remember the giggling of Roberts-Miller on spotting a very much out of water Buffon arriving in Bordeaux during our French tour. I remember the intense excitement of winning varsity matches, especially in a deciding doubles final set. I remember how proud I was to see Robert Walker hit a backhand volley out in front of him for the first time. Finally hit a ball directly across court, then a boast off the nearest wall. I remember the amazing roof-lifting cheer from the OUT supporters when I hit a main wall Dodon to win the first set against Rob Fay in a National League game at home. National League. We'll come back to that in a second. Don't worry, Boos, I'm over halfway now. But it wasn't just the matches, it was the camaraderie and community at the club, and the parties that I look back on fondly as well. I remember one on-court dinner dance. For some reason that escapes me now, Ollie Hawkins and I had volunteered, or been selected, to help with the decorations for the evening. We had this idea of filling the height of the court with 2 arches of balloons by running long strings diagonally from corner to corner, with hand-blown balloons attached all the way along. And being chemists, we thought we could elevate the arches by tying them in the middle to a large balloon full of helium. We did some rough back of the envelope calculations to figure out that a 3-foot balloon should just about do it. So off we went via a toy shop to the physical chemistry department where Ollie was studying at the time and filled our chosen balloon. The first challenge, beyond sneaking out of the department with a giant blue balloon pretending it wasn't full of a very light gas, was that it wouldn't fit in Ollie's rather small Peugeot. So he drove and I held this enormous balloon out of the window through the streets of Oxford. The next challenge was realising that the doors to courts built in 1595 were not designed to accommodate 3-foot balloons. But somehow we finally got into the court. And the moment of truth, would it be big enough to lift the 75 normal balloons? I remember tentatively letting go, thinking it would just be a dead flop and be weighed down to the floor, but miraculously, it shot off into the air like a perfectly hit giraffe serve to create our arches. What a moment. I'd like to think it set the scene for a fantastic evening that night, which ended with some of the finest penthouse running I ever saw. And what better time to do it than in black tie with nice leather-soled shoes on a dusty wooden slope after 1 or 2 drinks. So, National League. As my student career progressed smoothly into an actual career, despite the club holding a very nice farewell dinner party for me when I fooled everyone into thinking I was actually leaving for a job in London after nearly 8 years at Brasenose, I'm back. I was so fortunate to have the support of the club and of course Brian Brown to take on the challenge of National League for many years. The opportunity to play with and against the best players at the time was truly golden for me, particularly as I'm sure OUTC absolutely had the best support club. The finals at Hampton Court Palace were some of those moments I will always treasure. They were so exciting and made all the more so due to many of you who took the time and the winning gallery bell to the matches and made sure I knew you were all there cheering Oxford on to more than one victory. There was one final roll of the dice in many ways that landed a 6 for me. My good friend, comrade, drilling partner, Roman Krznaric, and I had just finished another solid hour of cross courts, and he was encouraging me to go back to Tuxedo Park in New York one last time to play in the gold rackets. I had skipped a couple of years and wasn't particularly minded to go back again as my work at Oxford Anaport was getting busier and didn't really allow for long weekends away. I wasn't dating anyone at the time, and so Roman had added, "You should go, you might meet a girl." And I said, "I don't know, I doubt I'll meet anyone I like." To which Roman riposted quickly, "Well, you never know, Spike. There are about 150 million of them. There might be one." This convinced me to go. And that Saturday night at dinner, I did indeed meet the one. Well, enough rambling. I could go on and on, but I'll leave it there for tonight. I can see Andrew's hair give a visible sigh of relief. There's been a strong theme of luck in my life, as you can no doubt tell by now, but of all the good fortune I had, I do think that the support I had in my early years as a student, from the club, from the sponsors and the supporters, was the most instrumental. Had I not been able to have free court time, cheaper rackets, access to the wonderful teaching from Andrew and Alan, none of what I've just told you might have happened. I think we all remember how difficult balancing life as a student is, and yet how wonderful an experience a life with tennis can be. I, for one, would love to help the next generation of students have the sort of memories that I have, and to give them the opportunity to really fulfil their potential and have a shot at playing with the world champions of the future, or being one themselves. So I am really delighted to support the Railroad Club, not only to have the chance to see you all again in the not too distant future, I hope, but also to remember those moments again and enable others to create their own too. I was delighted and honoured to be asked to become patron of the Railroad Club, and in accepting I felt compelled to sign up as a life member. I urge you all to join too and support this wonderful initiative. Have a fantastic evening everyone, and I can't wait to see you all at the next gathering. Bye for now.
Absolutely wonderful. We have a little bit more to do. So this year we celebrated, because we couldn't the previous year, the 150th and now the 151st varsity match for men and the 30th varsity match for women. And Ben Yorston is going to say a little bit about it. Ben.
I'm very short. Good evening, everyone. I feel like a bit of a downgrade. I'm not the president of OUTC, I'm not a surgeon, and I've definitely not taken a set off Rob Fay. Maybe if he's playing for another 20 years, I might stand a chance when he's 70. But like both Spike and Neil, I do really love real tennis, and so I've been the Blues captain for the men for the last year, and as mentioned, we had our 150th, 151st varsity this summer, which very fortunately we were able to win in a whitewash. Sorry, in case, but had to slip that one in there. But yeah, real tennis has been a huge part of my life. I was very lucky. I grew up at Radley where my dad's a teacher, and so they built a court on my doorstep when I was only about 8. And I think I was about 11 when I went on court for the first time. It's been a huge part of my life. I spent much of my gap year playing it in America, in France, in the UK. It's been a huge part of my university life, and it's probably going to continue to be a part of my life, both kind of throughout uni. I've got another year to go, and post-uni as well. And it's really something that I think everyone should get the chance to try. I was lucky that I had one built on my doorstep, but the reality is that all Oxford students, even those out in OX2 at LMH and Hughes really are very close to this incredible sport and the incredible people involved within it. We don't have a fresh-faced Andrew Davies, but we do have a fresh-faced Craig in his place who jogs on court just as readily. And I think the support that can be given to students, especially with this club, the amazing work that the recent graduates have done, those that came up with the idea, and all of you could be really transformational in giving people the opportunities to take it up. I think it's something that really people love once they get introduced to it. When we came off the back of COVID, we had, I think, only around 15 active student players left because of a couple of really tough years of people taking part in things in person. But with the help of the brilliant ladies captain Mary Strevens this year, who's also here, we had a huge amount of interest at Freshers Fair and had over 70 people then come and try the sport over the couple of weeks following, which was amazing. None of these people had heard of this sport, perhaps a handful had, but most hadn't. But because we were able to put on a couple of sessions, they all could come down, they could give it a try, and I think a few of the people that took it up this year are here tonight, which is great to see. As I think, we've got a couple of the new recruits this year here, and it's something I think really speaks to how much small investment, small time really can have an impact, and making it as accessible to people as possible. Obviously, it's been mentioned in terms of subsidisation, the great teaching, but also, dreaming big. Who knows? Maybe Alpha in his computer science background will become a billionaire, and we can build our second court at Merton. we can dream big because honestly, I think as many people as possible should get to try this game. It gives great opportunities for the varsity teams to keep beating Cambridge, for the lower teams to keep taking part in the sport, keep travelling around with it. As I think I was pointing to say, I've had the joy of playing with lots of the recent graduates, some here, some not. But there's only so much of a good thing you can get, and there's only so many hours of Rory Giddens that one can deal with. So I'd love to also be able to play with some of the elder people here as well. I've never had the opportunity to meet Spike, but hopefully I can get on court with him at some point, because honestly, we all do really look up to the sort of legends of the past that sit on those photos on the stairs. And I think both in terms of the support to students, but also that kind of relationship between current and old, this really is a great initiative. So a huge thanks to all the people who put in an amazing amount of work to this, the recent graduates, to Robert, who has actually contributed a surprising amount to my career. I think he put up with a rather pretentious 15-year-old quite a few times at Radley when we used to play against each other.
I could beat him once.
So many thanks to him for tonight, for this amazing occasion, and to all of you for the amazing support that you're giving. It is really an amazing cause, and one that really will make a massive difference to all the students. I'd like to pass over to the recent graduates of the ladies team. In particular, I think first up is Laura Neal.
For those of you who don't know me, which will be most of you, I'm Laura, and I'm one of these players that kind of got brought along from another sport that we've talked to, who really benefited from the support that the club offers to current students. So I'm a squash player who still plays squash on a real tennis court despite lots of half-price lessons. And I really don't think that I would have been able to kind of get involved in sport and keep playing in it if it wasn't for the free taste sessions, if it wasn't for Andrew and Craig's support, if it wasn't for money off rackets and all the other things that happen. So I think that it's so important for players who are coming from different sports, because I know that there's a lot of the lawn tennis players here tonight who joined a similar time as me. A few of us managed to sneak our way into varsity squads and win as well. And Mary as well, who's a lawn tennis player, is now the current captain. So I think it kind of speaks to the success that we can get from bringing players in from squash and lawn tennis. They go on to play in varsity squads, they go on to contribute to the committee and take on leading roles as captains, and I think that that's something that's really important. So that's kind of it from a personal perspective. That's what it meant to me when I was playing at Oxford. And then in terms of what it brings to me now that I've graduated, is it'll help me stay in touch with the game now that I'm living in London, help me find events to play at, to keep playing for someone who didn't play beforehand. We've got a few events lined up. I know that Georgie's sealed a date. Sunday the 30th of October, save it, at Queen's when the Carvery's on. Probably some fun doubles, probably some alcohol hopefully. And it should be a really good event. We've got some other stuff that we're thinking of. We're also open to suggestions. We're thinking along the lines of maybe a Railroad Club versus Giraffe Club, if Cambridge are up for it. an annual dinner maybe further down the line, and just lots of things here and there, maybe some more informal, more casual gets together, so people can stay in touch with the game and stay in touch with each other. I'd like to say a huge thank you to Andrew for calling every person under the sun who went to Oxford, and also a huge thank you to everyone who helped put the night on, especially Graham, who did a huge amount of background work, so a quick round of applause for Graham. Tonight would not have happened without him, so a huge thank you for that. So thank you all for coming as well, because all that effort would have been for nothing if you hadn't responded and you hadn't been engaged. And it's so great to see so many people here tonight. I hope you're having a good time. There's lots of sign-up information around the room. If you would like to hear more information, you can come speak to any one of us in the committee. We've also got Sophie Danrufer, who's on with myself and Georgie, and then Andrew and Graham. So there's lots of different packages you can get. It's free if you've just graduated, which is great. And there's also an option of lifetime memberships, which is very heavily subsidised if anyone wants a bargain if you sign up tonight. So there's lots of sign-up information around the room. If you have any questions, just let us know. But I think you've heard enough talking, so I'll leave it there. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you have a good evening.
Can you even see it?